Now, I want to kind of give you the team that you might be working with. I'm Mary Martin. I'm the ECM event manager. I also work with scanners for all of the area, but also Jeff Slack covers the east side of the state, and Steve Mayer, you might know, covers the west side of the state of Michigan for ECM. Now, here's the other fun thing about applied imaging, the thing that I like. I've been doing this 23 years. The beauty is we come in, we take a look at what you're needing, what you're looking for, do a discovery, and then we suggest a software at that point. It's not a shoe that or a one size fit all kind of situation, that we can tailor make what you're needing. And one of the exciting things that we're into and working with and have been for a bit now is called RPA, robotic process automation. Let me give you a quick example. It would be if you had in fact, we know of a company that somebody had to go in 365 days a year, run a report every day at a certain time, and upload it to a second software. How would you like that job when it's the 4th of July? What the RPA software does is robotically automate that process so it's being done without a person being on board. So it has the ability to connect a lot of softwares and get things done, right down to HR, AP, requisition, forms, you name it, we have that there. Here's what I bet you didn't know about applied imaging. We have Shred Hub, a way to destroy those documents when you're ready to get rid of them. We have bins we can drop at your office, or we can drop a bag at your home. It's secure. Backfile conversion, if that paper is piling up in your offices, we have a group in our company that takes care of the conversion. NetSmart Plus would be if you need IT help. We have people who help you with your network, supply what you might need for workstations, anything along that line. PrintSmart, managed print services to take care of all those little printers in your office, right down to providing new ones and providing supplies. Document scanners, of course, to get the information into your document management software. And one that you may have heard about on the news recently, because they've been doing some stories about us, is that we have temperature measurement kiosk available where people can walk up less than a foot from the machine, reads their temperature to prove they're healthy before they enter your organization. And you can even get facial recognition with those as an option if you want to check for security on that part of it. So here's the agenda for today. We're going to introduce the panel that we have. I'll be asking some questions. They've been given in advance, but you can ask questions at the end during the chat portion of it. So first, let me introduce our panel. Tim Fiesel is application analyst with Kalamazoo RESA. He's got 12 years of experience working in technology, 8 years of that in public education. Tim currently manages the PowerSchool special program system that's used in 40 plus school districts. They have OnBase software that they're using for 22 districts and software packaging and deployment that he's responsible for 19 school districts. Quite an impressive resume. And then we have Eric Shropshire, IT manager for Faygo Beverages. Everybody's familiar with Faygo. He's been IT manager there for the last 5 years. Eric's got over 20 plus years of experience in IT, and he's wore a lot of hats over those years in a wide range of companies. Faygo, you may not know, is a part of National Beverage. So as part of that, Eric supports the DocuWare software solution for Shasta and Sundance. And of course, Faygo here in the state of Michigan. Shasta is in Georgia. Give you an idea. And then finally, Kristen Vandevus, and I apologize, Kristen, for messing up your name there, contract management supervisor for ADAC Automotive. Kristen has an impressive resume. She believes in to work smarter and not harder, and to do that, they've deployed Highland Software OnBase solution for the last 10 years. She's worked in both construction and manufacturing and used it in both places. She is the contract management supervisor for them, a graduate of Calvin College and Davenport University's Global Project Management Certification Program, and she has a great interest in business process improvements, and she believes improving business process can lead to happier employees and greater productivity while saving your business money, and we're about to learn more about that. So if you're ready, panel, here's our questions. The first one, how long has your organization used a document management solution, and is it on-premise or cloud? Who wants to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I've used OnBase for more than 10 years, and I think I'm just barely scratching the surface on what's available to be used. I think it's an amazing program, and I think that more companies are going to be using this going into the future just because they want to go digital, and there's so many advantages.
Eric, I already mentioned use DocuWare. You want to talk a little bit about how you're using it there? Is it cloud on premise?
We're using on-premise. We've been using it since July of 2017, and I think I've had some experience with it in a previous job. Whether it was document management solution, whether it was DocuWare or not, I could not tell you for sure, but it was a similar package.
I forgot to ask Kristen, is yours on premise or cloud?
Ours is on premise
On
also.
premise. Okay, Tim, you're up.
Carries has been using OnBase for, I want to say it's been 11 years. As of 2018, we migrated over to AWS, so we were on-prem for several years, been off of it for a little over 2 years now.
Okay, good to know. Here's the question. What sparked your team to seriously consider using document management solution? What got you started back then?
Well, obviously, when I first started at Fago, my boss said, so, after a couple of weeks, so what do you think of Fago? And of course, my boss is the president of Fago Beverages. I said, I've never seen so much paper laying around in my life. And so I said, you definitely need a document management solution. And it sort of just took off from there. I mean, it took some time to start convincing people, as Mary could tell you, just to get the signatures and the required capital expense reports and so forth. So that was really what started it.
How old is Fago? How much paper has collected in all those years? How old is Fago?
I mean, we have unused areas in our warehouses, like upstairs lofts, where there's just boxes and boxes of paper. Just a flood or a small fire, and it would just wipe that out. We recently had a flood where our main water system broke in on one of our Hayward facility plants. They were not on DocuWare yet, by the way, and we lost the majority of their paper that they were storing there.
Fago's 150 years old, I believe, correct?
The building that we're in, correct.
Yeah.
It's a very, very old company.
That's what I thought. Yeah, excellent. How about you, Tim? What sparked the interest there for document management at KRESA?
I reached out to one of the early on people on this one. Just I've only been in for a couple of years now, but basically just space and time. They were kind of tired of filling up a warehouse with paper that they'd have to go out to in the winter and shuffle through to find documents, and then just obviously storing it. So cutting back on all that time and then saving space or repurposing it for other uses.
Kristen, what about your folks? What started it there?
Well, I'm totally echoing what the other people said. It's a space and time issue. It's a security and risk issue as well. And but what really got us into it was we had rooms and rooms of documents that we need to keep our documents because we have a requirement to, in a manufacturing facility, to maintain documentation for 30 years after we produce our product. And so we have to keep a hold of our documents. So it just became financially not feasible to maintain rooms full of files and then bookcases full of paper. And then we had to pay to store them off site, actually pay someone to hold on to our old documents. So that it was really a cost and a time save for us.
Interesting. I hear a lot of commonality here through this. How is it used in the organization, department, teams? Tim, you want to take that one? How are you using it?
Sure. Most heavily being used by the business offices in all the districts. That we integrate with a lot of other financial systems, so they'll be sending us checks and purchase orders that get automatically imported into OnBase. But then also just like invoices are a huge one that are just constantly getting scanned in. Human resources, they do a lot more of we're changing it up, but they do a lot of the digital Unity forms, so payroll authorizations that come in or outgoing for employees too. Just cuts back on all their time and management of that paperwork and speeding it through the process. We recently started getting our maintenance team involved, just with the key tracking. KRESA has buildings all over town, and so anytime someone comes in or leaves, there's all that paperwork on who's getting what keys, where are they going to. So that's all getting stored and have their own separate workflow. And special ed, we're going to be starting to get them involved just with student documents for IEPs and IFSPs and whatnot. Just a more safe and secure place to store those documents. Yeah, and then like most businesses, there's just dozens of documents that are mandated by the state to be held onto for a specified number of years. OnBase has that really awesome retention policy that you can implement for each individual or groups of documents. So storing stuff for X amount of years off in a cabinet, we can just set a rule and they disappear after 7 years or whatever like that.
Makes life a lot easier, doesn't it? Definitely. Kristen, I see you nodding your head there. How are you using it in your organization?
Well, I wish we were implementing it at a greater degree than we are currently. My previous position in a construction company, we used it from the minute a piece of paper entered the door. It was either scanned or was emailed to us, and we converted it and put it into the system. And then we were able to distribute it to all of the individuals who either needed to sign it, read it, do something with it. They were able to put on their notes on it. Send it to another person and say, hey, this isn't matching what I quoted, whatever the case may be. This is an overcharge, should be rejected or refused, that sort of thing. And so, and my daughter actually uses this. She works for a county in Michigan, and she works with a lot of attorneys, and they have legal paperwork that they have to do this with. And so it's really beneficial in terms of working within departments. But right now, my department is the only one using our solution, but it's saved us a huge amount of time when we have audits at the end of the year. And it's mostly financial.
Mostly financial. Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you. Eric, how is it being used at Fago and Shasta?
HR, accounts payable and order entry, and one of our shipping warehouses where we store the bill of lading and the pick list. So for HR, it's pretty much every document related to that employee, whether it be reviews, new hire paperwork, everything associated with that employee. AP, it would be our checks and our invoices, and for order entry, it would be the actual order. Rather than printing it out on a piece of paper, we would just automatically put it in a folder, and the system would automatically watch for it and import it directly into DocuWare.
How has it changed over the years? I know, Kristen, you're the only department that's been using it. How has it changed since you first started with it?
Well, when we first started, it was unheard of to have a invoice emailed to us. People were afraid of risk for that, and now most of the big companies we work with, you go out and get an invoice, or an invoice is sent to a secure location, and there's no paper at all. So it's digital when it comes in, and then we deal with it as a digital piece of paper, But in the past, we had paper, and we still had to deal with that paper initially. And I'm sure that there are some smaller companies that still do that, which is an extreme frustration for them. So I think the solution works for both. Small companies and large companies, in the sense of you can deal with paper or you can deal with digital right at the beginning at the front gate. So I think that's an advantage that's changed over the years.
Good advice. Eric, how have things changed there since it started 3 years ago?
Well, the interest has basically went through the roof. We've added, some more departments, and many are, like I said, are asking for access to it. When we first got DocuWare, we got the minimum, modules, as you remember. We didn't get the workflow manager or the task manager type thing. We already have project requests out now to get those additional modules. So if anything, it's just been growing and trying to keep up with the number of people that want access to it. But of course, that costs money to keep adding licenses.
So the word is out how well it's working, and now everybody wants to jump on board. Is that what's happening?
Correct.
Okay, good to know. Tim, how about your organization? How has it changed?
I'll be honest, I think a lot of the change has been just in these last couple of years. I mentioned that migration from our on-prem to AWS and all the benefits that brought. And pretty soon we're going to be taking all the storage off of the AWS server there and putting it into their S3, which is going to be saving us thousands of dollars in the long run. Off of that, the first several years, all of the districts were sharing the same document types and the same workflows, and just kind of chopped up with security measures in place so they couldn't see each other's documents. Going forward, everyone's getting their own unique document types, their own workflows, just so we can have a customization aspect. If someone wants something to change, I can't really do that with our original group without getting a unanimous decision by everybody. So now everyone, the districts that we're onboarding and the ones that will eventually chop up, are going to be able to make whatever changes they want over time.
Okay, interesting. More personalization then, basically, coming.
Yes.
for that part of it. Excellent. Next question, and Eric, I'm going to hit you with this one because of the age of your company. How was the software solution received by your departments and teams, and how did you handle pushback for those people resistant to that change?
Obviously, some were more receptive than others. I want to say the non-veterans were probably much more receptive to this than our veterans. For the ones that pushed back, I basically, went through some exercises with them to show them how easy it was to retrieve the documents, and that convinced some. Others are, with any company, you're going to have those people that just refuse to change. I often say we need to buy them that book, Who Moved My Cheese, to help them adapt to change. But overall, most users were receptive. Very rarely did I have to get a manager involved to say, hey, you need to do this, get this user to do this. So overall, it's been pretty receptive.
Good to know. And I know you had some people who were, how do I phrase it, had been veterans there for a long time that were very resistant. So that's good. Kristen, how about you? How did you handle that resistance to change?
Well, I think change is hard for everyone, and nobody wants to add time to their day to learn something new, and so they get frustrated and they, start to resist. But we didn't have that because we just kept pushing and saying, hey, look at the time saved, look at the money saved. Everybody's responsible to, make cuts wherever they can to help the overall company. And so we just kept saying, this is coming and you can either get on board or not. And we didn't have any real problems with our department at all. But one thing I would say is that you have to get buy-in from your supervisor and anybody that's in executive leadership, because they don't understand the day-to-day work. They don't understand processes well. They're big picture people. They're not the small picture people. And so we had to actually physically show our leadership the insanity of what we were doing every day with this paper. And eventually they were sold on it. But it does take a little bit of convincing, and it takes a champion, somebody who says, hey, we're moving forward. We can't stay where we're at. We're not growing. Our company is growing, so we got to grow with it. So we just kept pushing a lot.
All excellent advice there. I like the champion idea. Yes, and selling it up. Tim, how about for your organization? How did they handle change, and how do you handle it even today, probably, as you bring on new people?
I'll echo Kristen and Eric pretty much on this one. There's always going to be the ones that are going to struggle some more whenever new technologies can be implemented. A recent example, we just upgraded the latest EP3 for OnBase. It was my first big upgrade. So there was a few bumps that were encountered. It was definitely a learning experience, but in my opinion, just great customer service. It goes a long way to diffuse situations. So I know the end users that were kind of having struggles here and there, overall their opinion is definitely going to be high. They just new features and whatnot, and after we get to demonstrate everything to them what's going on. So yeah, they're really not a whole lot of pushback or resistance from all of our districts.
It sounds like I hear you say you're keeping them informed as to what's happening and helping them through the rough spots to understand how to do things.
We do have a community forum, so it's not heavily used, but if I ever have to reach out to everyone regarding something like an upgrade, then we have a lot of good feedback bouncing around in there.
Okay, good. Sounds like a good support system in both cases there. Excellent. Do you have your software integrated with another ERP or other softwares out there? Eric, I know you do, I believe, correct? You have another software in play?
Correct. We have our ERP system is Appix. That's APPX. It's more of a fourth level generation type software package where we have AP, AR, general ledger, production, the whole ball of wax. And so we pretty much are taking the PDF documents that get created from there, or the checks per se, and storing those into DocuWare.
Okay.
So integration, I mean, that's a big word. So as far as how you define that, but we do take the documents created from our ERP system, and that is what is used as far as importing into DocuWare.
Okay, that helps. Kristen, how about you? What other softwares are you using out there, ERPs and things?
Well, right now we're not integrated, but it is a real goal for us because we have thousands and thousands of contracts that come in on a yearly basis. And like I said, if we can get something that comes in digital versus another form, that's going to save us time because it's just already converted and brought into the system and is viewable, et cetera. And, you know, and it meets parameters. So, and also to kick out information. That's one of the things, one of the reasons we're really upgrading is because we're hoping to be able to do some more data analysis. And the way we do that is by pulling it through the system and exporting it. So we can do further, you know, we can further use that data and use it to our advantage.
Oh, good to know. Excellent. Tim, how about you? Other software in play that works with your OnBase?
KRESA has a homegrown ERP called MySuite, and I'm not really involved with it, but I do work with the developers whenever we need to make some kind of tweaks with the exports that come out of there, just so we can get the sweep into OnBase. We've onboarded one new district and currently onboarding another one at this moment. They have an SDS, or the ERP is called SDS, and the other one is school finance. So just working with the developers on those two systems on how to get checks and purchase orders from their systems into an SFTP so OnBase can take.
So things are being swept into OnBase from a variety of solutions out there by the sounds. Is that what I hear you say?
Yep.
Excellent, excellent. Kristen, how about you? What benefits have you realized? You've given us some already, I know, from deploying a document management solution. What are the top benefits you think you've pulled from having this in play?
I think the top benefit is the audit that we have. We have financial audits on a regular basis, and we have document audits. And in the past, we have to dig into a file cabinet, into a file, pull that document, make a copy of that document, and then provide that to the auditor. And it could take a month to do a financial audit, and we've been able to pull financial documents in our new system within one day and send it electronically to our auditor. So it's huge. I mean, it's again, the time save is huge, but the fact that we don't have to stand at a copy machine and make copies, we don't have to file, we don't have to purchase the file folders, the file cabinets, the file rooms, you know, and then pay for the file off-site storage, and the paper itself. I mean, I think the paper itself was a couple $1,000s a year, just not on the paper that we, and also we've downsized our copy machines because we don't need copiers anymore because most of our stuff is coming in digitally now. So yeah, it's just overall it's been a great thing for our company.
In the paper-based system, did you have human error as far as filing, lost documents, that sort of thing? How is that played out now in the new system?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, paper got lost all the time, and then you had and that's the other thing that we didn't talk about here is you have multiple copies of one document, and you know, Jane Smith put a note on it and she gave it to somebody else because there was a problem with it, and then whoever she gave it to forgot to give it back, and so then we made a new copy of it, but it didn't have the note. And so nobody knew what was going on with it. So in our situation, our goal is to have one source of truth, so that we have one document. If it's reviewed or revised, there's documentation. If somebody touched it, we know they pulled it out of the system and looked at it, then we can go to them and say, hey, was there a problem? You know, did you need to fix something? And so it's just improved overall communication on each document.
And you've got tracking in place by the sound, so you know what's going on with that document, where it's at, and what's happened to it.
Correct.
Yes, excellent. Eric, how has deploying a document management solution for you folks improved things or changed things?
The speed in locating the document is just, I mean, it's tenfold. We have plants scattered across the country, so if we have a CSR that needs proof that, you know, something was shipped because the customer needs to see it in order to make a payment, all they got to do is go into that file cabinet, do a search for that order number, and boom, it's there. As opposed to before, they would have to contact the plant. Plant would have to find the document, scan it, and then email it, and that could take up two days to do, as opposed to now it only takes minutes to locate a document. So that has been the biggest benefit for us.
Excellent. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, because of the flood you just went through, security, the paper is in a secure place, so you don't run the risk of disaster. Was that
Correct.
Yeah, another, obviously that one came into play recently by the sounds. Tim, how about you? Benefits for deploying a document management solution?
Kind of fall back on the time and space again. Just that positive feedback that we get from people. I've recently been converting paper documents to electronic ones, a conference form for existence. Human resources, I know they don't have to order those yellow, pink, white forms anymore for people to fill out. As Eric mentioned, just how approvals are happening so much faster now. It could be minutes as opposed to a week or something like that, as it goes down the chain of approvals. Retrieval happens in less than a minute. Doesn't have to be going digging over to another building or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And just overall efficiency, the reminders I can get set up if something is sitting idle. If it's, instead of getting lost in a mailbox or something, if it's sitting in OnBase, there's rules set up so that after X amount of hours, that person will get dinged again. Like, hey, check your approval form here.
And if they don't respond, then does it go higher? Do you have it set up so the person above says, hey, this person hasn't done something to it?
That same person will get dinged over that period of hours, but we do have several groups of people that can view at least. So if someone's inquiring, they can at least go and say, oh yeah, it's sitting over in this queue still. We'll get on it.
Okay, interesting. Good to know on that. What did your organizations do well as you jumped into this? Eric, do you want to take that? What did you do well when you were deploying this?
I think our users were very, very receptive to this. The training, just the excitement. I mean, what they did well was is accepting it. I mean, when I traveled to our Gainesville plant to show them this, it was in 1 week I was able to deploy it to all the desktops, do the training, and before I left, they were all, doing what they were supposed to do to get this stuff into DocuWare, and I thought they just did that very, very well. I mean, hats off to DocuWare for making it a user-friendly tool to begin with, but I think that's what we did well as an organization. Is just the receptiveness from the users into adapting to it.
Excellent. And how you basically sold the idea and deployed it. I'm hearing you say it went smooth. It went well. Kristen, how about you? What did your organization do well?
Well, I think we had to understand our process first and to truly appreciate the benefits of using this system. So I think we did a good job of that, of the repetitive things that we were doing on a consistent basis, things that could be shortcut. So, we did a lot of process mapping. And the other thing that we did is we got buy-in from the younger people in our department. So, I hate to, label people as being stuck in the mud, based on their age or anything like that, or their lack of technology. But we did pull in a younger person who was very excited about the program and, wasn't afraid. And I think that helped build excitement for the solution.
Excellent. That sounds good. Tim, what did your organization do well?
I want to give a shout out to our tech department here. It's a pretty robust department. They don't sit idle at all. And we're always trying to stay close to the cutting edge in technology. So with OnBase being implemented over 10 years ago, just the collaboration that's taken place with over 20 districts.
And distribute your favorite beverages.
So
ensure the flavors
it's been pretty awesome, pretty amazing. And then just the benefits of hosting in AWS when that migration took place a little over 2 years ago, the uptime, security, and cost center savings, all the districts.
Jim, thank you for that. That sounds good. What do you think you could have done differently, folks? Kristen, what would you have done differently or changed if you go back and to do this over again?
I think if we had chosen a further implementation that we had maybe thought bigger and grander, that we would have brought in more departments at the beginning. So I think that understanding the capabilities of what can be done and then expressing that in a succinct manner to leadership, I think would have helped us a little bit better. But you don't know what you don't know. So it's educating yourself and others about what's out there and what's available. And part of that is you guys doing the same for us.
Right. From the vendor side, when you're working with a vendor. Yeah. So what's available kind of a thing. Tim, what do you think could have been done differently? What did you hear? I know you weren't there at that point, but.
I believe the initial setup, I think I mentioned this earlier, could have been done a little different. So the majority of our districts are sharing the same document types and the same workflows. And since getting my feet wet, I've kind of realized what kind of headaches that could cause. I know that as we can slowly build up everyone's own unique ones, that opens up. We have had some districts that were off-boarded for various reasons. So if, since the disc groups for those first few districts there is just like one disc group for each different department, retrieving one district's out of everyone's in that one cache can be a little bit of a headache.
Oh, I bet. So the way it was initially set up was not, there wasn't the thinking on what happens if somebody off boards and what do we do? Okay. That's interesting. Eric, what would you have done differently? Anything?
Better planning as far as number of licenses required. It seemed like it was only 6 months after we went live, they needed more licenses from within one department. And it's like, how did we miss that? And IE had even added a couple more licenses, as a buffer, and we immediately exceeded that. So whether that was poor planning on my part or, the manager's part, obviously they approved it, but we could have definitely done a better job with that. It would have made it more seamless as far as the implementation.
Interesting. What I'm hearing is from all three of you, front-end planning is critical. Is that sound about right? Yeah, that it's important to get those people involved and then kind of take a look down the road to see where it's going from there. Kristen, I know you were talking about that. And where is it going to go and where is it going to grow from there? Excellent. I know some of this you've already mentioned already. Do you have plans for expanding your solution further? If so, in what ways? Eric, I'm going to ask you on this one to start because I know we've been talking about that.
Well, we obviously planning on implementing this across more warehouses. Once we get this approved, we're also looking into making our bill of lading paperless per se. And what we've been talking about with Mary is basically we want to be able to save the bill of lading directly into DocuWare. When the driver comes to pick up the product, they pretty much will sign it within DocuWare on a tablet. We would then print that signed document to a laser printer, no longer using a pre-printed form, but rather an overlay thing that DocuWare is able to provide us, and then send the driver on their way. So right now we're in the waiting on approval process to get that going.
And I know nationally there was talk of moving it towards accounts payable there too, correct? So that's down the road. I know, yep. Tim, you've mentioned this already too, where the plans are. What areas are you expanding and how soon and when do you expect that's going to happen?
Our consortium mostly is in West and Southwest Michigan. The two new ones are more Northern Michigan. It initially started with just the districts that were using the MySuite ERP because the two systems just go hand in hand and makes everyone's job easier to use. I know that our department is definitely open to more districts coming on board if there's going to be that collaboration that can benefit both our district and theirs. There's been a lot of talks too, where some people ask about certain utilizations of like document recognition software or electronic signatures. If it was just for a single district or two, it's really not worth it cost-wise, but if we are able to get our consortium on board with it and share it amongst everyone, it'd be additional features that everyone could benefit from at a much cheaper cost.
Well, I went to actually a Highland conference this past year, and the sky's the limit as far as expanding the solution. And I don't work for you guys. I'm a user, and it's unbelievable what can be done out there. I mean, we're talking, high schools, school districts, we're talking colleges and universities. We're talking about, integrating several departments that have paper. You know, we all have a form. We're all trying to work smarter, not harder, you know, as one of my things that I always say. And so my goal is to be able to pull things in automatically and to export things automatically. And, you know, IT's not going anywhere. And the people are already working on these solutions. They're out there if you want them, but you have to do the work. You've got to know your business, you've got to know your processes, and you've got to know, hey, where can I save some money? On the flip side of that, you have to remember that you could ultimately work yourself out of position. You know, you start automating, you start losing, you know, full-time employees. I mean, that's a thing that really our financial guys are looking at, right? If you can automate the system and have one person instead of three, that's a huge cost save.
It would be. Can you sometimes repurpose them, for lack of a better term, somewhere else in the organization? Does
Oh,
that
absolutely.
happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hear you what you're saying, that with the automation, you can eliminate some positions and save money that way as well for that part of it. That is interesting. How about any words of advice for other organizations looking to deploy a solution? Tim, words of advice for them.
Well, with any system, just weigh pros and cons. OnBase has so many features, as Kristen was talking about, and I'm sure there's certain people that would love to have certain things, but you just have to kind of weigh what's going to benefit everybody, or at least the majority, and go from there. Utilize what's going to be the best. And then training, I would say, would be a big one. OnBase is great because of all that it can do, but since there is so much, it can take a while to learn. I came in completely green and immediately went to a week-long sysadmin training that was amazing. It was definitely a great eye-opener in how to use the system properly. I know that there could have been some more trainings that I would have had some help with, but it's constantly learning and whatnot. So I just say definitely put training at the top there.
Training is critical. Excellent. Eric, how about you? What advice would you give to an organization looking to deploy this?
I would try to go as high up in the organization as you can when you are showing these demonstrations, only because the people that are required to sign off on capital projects, their first question is, what is this? And if I had to do this all over again, I would try to go as high up so that they know what it is that I'm signing for. A lot of times we just get a delay on this stuff, and it's like, you know, we can really do good for this business, but it would be probably more beneficial if you can get that information as possible.
So go higher in the organization to get buy-in first. Excellent.
Yes.
I like that. Kristen, how about you? What advice would you give another organization?
Same as Tim, really. Training and keep learning. Keep learning.
Okay, training and keep learning. When it comes to training, do you have a kind of a train the trainer? What do you all do in that case? Or do you have the vendor come in and work with departments? What's your game plan on that, Kristen?
Well, we've done both in the circumstances that I've had, but I have found that it is beneficial to kind of create your own user guide, because there's always, like Tim said, there's going to be some small customizations, some boxes that have to be checked, or something that has to be done for your particular situation. And so I think you learn the system like Tim did, you go to training, and then you train the other people and show them, you know, really what is essential.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Tim, well, how do you handle training there? Is it kind of train the trainer, or how do you go about getting the word out?
When I started, the person that I don't want to say relieving, but they were moving to a different position. They kind of got me started prior to that week-long sysadmin training. And then what I forgot to mention before, so I'll say it now, the thing that we're very lucky to have is Applied Imaging in our corner. You guys have been just amazing with support and bailing me out on certain issues.
Good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Excellent. Eric, how about for you? Because you have plants in different states. How are you handling training?
Well, we have a corporate office, which is in Florida. However, I'm in Detroit, and I'm the administrator for the DocuWare. As far as the planning goes, it comes up on the fly. We are so thin staffed right now, and with the COVID going on, I got so many people working from home, and I was like, hey, we got to go paperless. I'm like, yeah, now you want to go paperless. So it's like, from a planning perspective, I don't think anybody could have planned for this COVID situation, occurring. And I would imagine that the interest in the document management solution is going to be at its highest level during this trying time right now. So
Funny, yeah, interesting you should say that. That's one of our questions. Here we go with the questions, everybody. How have you handled COVID? And I guess you said a little bit about it there, Eric. How has it been? You've been in a good spot. What happened during all of that? Were you able to adjust to the shelter in and everybody working from home? That part of it. Eric, do you want to take it since you started down that road already?
well, not everybody has a laptop in my organization. Obviously, your financial group, we do not issue laptops to them. So we came up with a solution for what was called a cheap, like, Chromebook type device that just allows them to VPN to their desktop at work. So they keep their desktop on at work, and then they kind of like just VPN into that desktop. Any documents that they would normally print, we would try to get them to, go to PDF and then email that. Like I said, we weren't able to plan for it, so everything is on the fly, and we could have a different situation every day. We are getting by. That's the important part, but that is pretty much how we've been handling it.
No, that makes sense. I suspect a lot of people, but you had the software solution in place. Was that a benefit during COVID?
Yeah, it helps. Oh, yeah, it definitely helps, because if they have to locate a document, obviously they don't need to be in the office to look
Okay.
through a file cabinet to try to find it. That part has definitely helped.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, excellent. Kristen, how about COVID? How did things happen in what happened in your office when this thing hit? How did life look?
Well, we were already transitioning because we moved to new corporate headquarters. And so we had already worked very hard on some solutions and actually added another department to our licensing and et cetera. And so we really didn't have very many hiccups because we also VPN in and we have access to our desktops. So, and because the majority of our stuff now is digital, we've had really no hiccups. We've been very fortunate.
Excellent. So I'm hearing you say, both of you so far, that you were in a good place when COVID hit, pretty much, but just some tweaking, if you will. Tim, how about you folks when COVID hit? How was life there, and what did you do to adjust?
I think we were pretty well prepared for it. I can't speak for non-KRESA districts, but the fact that I didn't get a whole lot of or contacted a lot about problems, like, no news is good news, I suppose. But for KRESA, our tech department was able to roll out Microsoft Teams and Cisco soft phones just so we can keep communication going amongst all the various departments. And then, on-base, since everyone's already doing things online, we just, as long as we give them a VPN connection, they were able to use the system just fine.
Okay, excellent. So I'm hearing all three of you say now that when COVID hit, you were in a pretty good place because you had a solution in place ready to roll with this. And if it continues, life continues as it is right now, I'm assuming, is there any changes if we continue with COVID that you're planning? All three of you?
Well, it's going to be business as usual for us. There's not much that we can do from home. I mean, we're able to ship our products, we're able to collect our money, and I'm still getting my paycheck. So that's what's important at this point.
When you're in manufacturing, it's a little different world there, isn't it, Eric? Along the way, definitely. I know we're all adjusting to a new way of working. We were talking about this in the beginning with all of us even working at home now along the way. So I don't see any more questions other than what we've received there. I'd like to thank Kristen, Eric, and Tim for your expertise today, your sharing and being open with us about what's going on in your companies and how you've learned a number of things along the way.